Hello and welcome to the show today. My guest is a talented voice actor. Let's go to a clip now to hear a bit of her work.
It's a casserole. It's good for you. Eat it.
Yo, Betty Crockpot, my mom's made a lot of casseroles, and they don't smell like that. They don't move like that, neither.
Well, I sincerely appreciate the effort. I believe I've lost my appetite.
Yeah, ditto, you know?
Oh no, honey, so you're gonna eat it? Because that casserole's gonna have to last you till next week's rations come in.
Whoa, what?
I beg your pardon.
Since when?
Since I used all our rations in that casserole.
Oh, no. See, this ain't gonna work, and I'm gonna
finally
tell you
lost
why.
your mind if you think
no...
that...
And that to me is pure talent. Ladies and gentlemen, Dusty O'Roses. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very pleased to be here.
Now, of course, I always start with these interviews at the beginning, so what got you into voice acting?
Okay, well, I would say that from the very beginning, what got me into it was an interest as a child. I was always watching cartoons. I rarely watched any of the live action stuff that was going on in my grade school years. So one day I was laid up in bed at home and I was watching one of my favorites, and I actually had a problem with my foot. So I was in a very miserable state. I had to go to the a foot doctor to fix a toenail of some sort. It was very painful. And I was put in such a good mood from the cartoons I was watching that I realized when the credits came on that, wait a minute, there are actual people who do this for a living, because I'm watching the credits roll by and I'm thinking, I've never stopped to realize that there are people behind these drawings who are making these voices and who are putting the smile on my face right now. So that's perhaps something to look into. And from there, I just wanted to, whenever it was possible at school, in high school or outside of school, to get a hold of an acting class or any kind of voiceover practice, like a monologue competition here, or I raised enough money from a summer job to take a class there for vocal coaching. I just kind of steadily did that ever since, I would say, maybe 6th or 7th grade.
Oh, nice. So, many of you fans know you from doing voice packs for the mod Team Fortress 2, for doing a couple of the female versions of the characters. So what got you? So how did that become to happen? How did you get into doing that?
It was very fortuitous because I didn't expect anything to come of it at all. I had started the YouTube channel that I use now very frequently to update my followers with any new projects I'm doing. It started years ago, and I was looking for fun new voiceover things to do and put up on it just for fun. And I had found this artwork on DeviantArt of a female medic, and I'd only just gotten into TF2 that year, way back when the female medic and Heavy were being worked on, or rather they had already come out, I'm sorry. And I found these pictures and I thought, these are fabulous. And I only thought that they were 3D artwork. I thought it was a 3D modeler who was just doing pictures. But, and so I used those pictures for a voiceover exercise or what have you. And later on, it was revealed to me that those were actually models that someone could actually, this was a new concept to me, that someone could put these skins over the models that already exist in the game. And these were actually usable in game, and that somebody had provided the voice for it. And I'm like, that's brilliant. That's fantastic. That's a really clever project, and it must have taken a hell of a lot of work to do. So, I visited this artist's DeviantArt. This is Chemical Alia, who's made 3 or 4 rather of these female models that are floating about now. And I was looking through her work, and I'm thinking, these are fantastic. How much time must this have taken? And so I thought, well, if somebody gave voices to these, and it wasn't her, and that must mean that she looks for people to do this. So or maybe they're her friends or what have you, but I'm sure they don't want to go through all that again. So let me try. So I thought, well, I have a microphone, and I've been doing this. Maybe I can try this. So she's working on a female spy. I'm thinking, well, that's fantastic. I could try that, maybe, if she'll let me. I already had done a couple exercises on my YouTube channel that I thought I could show her and be like, well, I've done this, and I don't know if you're looking for somebody for the female spy right now, but whenever you are, or if you do another class after the spy, if you already have somebody picked out, I do this, and I think I could do a good job for you if you'd let me. And I sent her my Scout's Mother video that I have on my channel that actually got very popular after a while. And I sent her a couple other random exercises that were on the channel. And I didn't expect anything to come of it, so I just sent those out to her and waited and didn't think about it much. And then she got back to me maybe a couple days later saying, well, these are fantastic, and I would, I think that's a great idea. If you want to take on the project, then, I think you'd do a good job. So I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's great. I don't know how to go about this now. How should I do this? How should I do this? So it was a process, but it just started from me being curious and trying and asking her, would you mind? Would it be okay? And her being, nice enough to think that, well, yeah, why not? So it was just a fun project.
So, of course, now that the mods are in the game and people are running around as the characters, how does that feel for you, knowing that anytime someone could be hearing your voice coming from these characters?
It's weird. It's really, really weird because, I have my own friends, from college and stuff, who are still into TF2, as am I, and they have said to me, like, oh, I just downloaded the female engineer, the female spy, like, oh, they're great, I love it. And it's weird because sometimes I'll play with them, or I'll be in the same room as they're playing, or I'll have my fiance playing it and he'll have the female spy installed, and I'm thinking, oh, that's just so different. But after a while, I've gotten kind of used to it. I did for a while use the female spy and the female scout in my game, just to, you do all that work, you record all those files, and you're like, well, unless I watch somebody play, I won't get to experience what it is that the community is experiencing, and I won't be able to tell how good of a job I've done unless I actually put it in game and implement it myself, outside of testing, because that was an entirely different story. I mean, it was usually under controlled environments. I'd have to go to an idle server and practice headshots to see how the critical death sounded, and I'd have to have somebody come in with me to test out building destruction, like sentries going down and stuff, to hear what the engineer would sound like, if it was loud enough, if it was the right kind of pitch or tone, and to see if all the files worked. So that was more of it was not annoying, but it was more focused, and I wasn't able to enjoy it. And anybody who's using the packs would not be thinking about all those things, a billion things at once. They'd just be enjoying it for what it is. So after it was released, I was like, well, I might as well actually use it for leisure. So it's always weird, but it's pleasurable. It's it's a good feeling of satisfaction that those were a lot of files and they're done. And you know what? People enjoy them, so that makes me feel good, more so than it makes me feel, I guess, not uncomfortable, but it makes me feel surreal listening to myself dying 1,000 deaths of headshots or backburners. So it's fun.
Now, including the TF2 roles and all the other roles you've done, what would you say is your favourite voice so far?
I always find it hard to answer that question because I have two, if we're just doing the fan stuff that I've done, the fan work for TF2 or the GLaDOS stuff that I've done for Portal map mods. And I really think that female spy is my favorite to perform because that's the kind of voice that I love to do. A lot of actors complain about being typecast, or it's something that nobody looks forward to. But if I have to be typecast at all, or if I have to have a role come to me constantly because of what people know I'm good for, I would prefer it to be something that's villainous like that, and something that's it has a subtle underhandedness to it, because villains are so fun to play, and spy just kind of lends itself to being a kind of a complicated, treacherous sort of voice to perform with a lot of layers to it. And it's kind of fun being a femme fatale when the kind of voices that you could be getting a lot of heroine roles where it's high pitched and fun and young and stuff, and this is different. It's mature. But perhaps my favorite voice to actually see people use and enjoy themselves, and what I take a lot of pride in, even though I didn't enjoy performing the voice very much, was Female Scout, because I think that took on an entire life of its own. I don't even know how it got to be so well accepted, because I personally did not enjoy the experience of actually making it, because it took well over a year and it had a lot of ups and downs. But the fact that so many people enjoy it and use it so frequently in their Source Filmmaker videos and their Gmods and any other random things, and I've gotten such a overwhelmingly positive response from people telling me how much they love that voice and how they come to love that character so much. That makes me feel really good. So it's kind of like a two-sided coin. There's one that I love to perform, and there's one that I love what it's done for the community.
So, what would you say is like the hardest part when it comes to voice acting for you?
I think perhaps the hardest thing about it would be trying my best not to lose any energy, especially with longer projects. It's fun if it's a quick job that you're doing, like if you're just doing an intro for a podcast and the whole point is be energetic and introduce the show and you're good and that's it, and it only lasts for 15 seconds or so. A very long project, pages and pages of work, trying to maintain the same level of energy and the same mood when you could be working on the same script for, let's say, days at a time, and you don't quite remember what mood you were in the night before, or you're in a different place than you were the night before, and you don't know if you can give the exact same performance. That's always difficult for me, because I'm always scared that I'm not giving the same amount of energy to make it a uniform project, or the same level of personality, or if I did any fluctuations. So having bigger projects where there could be variation that I don't intend to do or that wouldn't be ideal for the project, that's the hardest for me, I think.
So, with people out there trying to get to like the voice acting business as well, so what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out in voice acting?
Okay, well, the advice that I would give to anyone who's looking to get into voice acting is to remember that at its core, it's still acting. And that any advice that you're looking for voice acting, or any path you're trying to take to get into voice acting, at its core, it has to be about acting. And I learned this from several classes I've been in, that I've had classmates who had beautiful voices, golden voices that really you'd think, yeah, that guy could take any job he wanted. He could get cast in anything he wanted because he sounds just like Barry White. He's got that creamy, velvety, it's perfect. How could you not want to hire that guy? But I've seen over and over that even if you have a voice that's like angels singing and descending from on high, it can definitely be a detriment to you if you don't have the foundation of a good acting experience, a good acting education behind you to support that. It's like a cake made out of frosting, essentially. And it's a lot of times people will be like, well, like, how do you do it? How do you break into it? It's the same way that you would break into acting. Just regular stage acting or film acting. There's a couple different things. There's a couple things that are, I guess, made easier because of things nowadays like the internet. I mean, you can't exactly send in, sometimes you can send in a film audition for, any role or anything via email, and they just want to see a reel of stuff that you've done before. But let's say if it's theater, you typically, or musical, you have to be there in person, and you have to show them all of everything you got on the spot. With voice acting, it's become I guess a more open career and a more open opportunity for employment, because the ease of communication now with the internet, you can just send out a demo like that, send out an MP3 anywhere you need to send to. You can work with somebody who's in a different country And I've done that many times now for machinimas or little indie games. And that wasn't possible before. It was, even if it was possible, it was very difficult and it took a long amount of time. So with that in mind, know that even though that there's that perk, you have to use it to your advantage, and really use that time that you would be focusing on trying to get noticed and self-promote to also focus on your basics and your foundation of acting. Take a class. If there's a free class being offered in, a recreational center, or if you just got to raise a couple of, $50 bills or whatever it is to pay for a brief introductory class, make friends in those classes, because you never know where they're going to go to after that class. They might end up getting a job somewhere and they might remember you. So definitely be friendly to everybody you meet while you're trying your best to get out there and get noticed, and always practice. Even the best of the best still forget certain basics that could cost them an audition. So always refresh on your basics and practice on your people skills, and make yourself available, even if it's a project that you think, well, this won't pay me very much, or, this won't get noticed very much. If it's not going to hurt you, and if it's not going to take a lot of time away from your own schedule when it comes to acting and getting other jobs or just your personal life, and if it's not going to hurt, then take it on anyway, because it's A, practice, and B, that person who's got the low-level project that might not get noticed very much could go on to be somebody who gets noticed a lot. And it's nice to have friends like that, and it's nice to show people that you're not exclusive and only handle jobs that, you're not at that point yet. You will one day be that way, and even when you are at that point, you don't want to act that way. You want to be a nice person all around.
So, what can we, the fans, expect to hear from you in the future? Have you got any projects right now?
A couple, and there is one that's came out recently as a sampler. It's an audio manga, which it started as a radio play done for a couple years ago, I think back in 2010, 2011, and it is made by it's made by KJC Comics, and it's called Floor Blades of the Universe. And it debuted at Florida SuperCon this past weekend. And basically the premise is action-packed adventure, and it's this whole storyline. It's hard to describe, but it's a manga, action adventure, and a lot of beautiful artwork. So I will be playing one of the characters in that, and the sampler for the audio manga came out on their website. So that's something to listen to. It'll be episodic, so the next issue that comes out for the manga, there'll be more audio to listen to along with the manga. And I'll be playing a character in that. And there's also another project I'm working on for a few indie games that they haven't quite been released yet or are in big stages of development, but definitely I'll be keeping people updated on when they do release so that I can actually talk about what those roles are.
Well, that sounds very exciting, and we'll all be looking forward to that. But unfortunately, that's all the time we've got. So thank you very much for coming on the show. You've been a terrific guest. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's really been a pleasure.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Dusty Old Roses. And I've been Caboos15. Catch you next time.